Today we are making gyudon, one of the most famous Japanese dishes. You may not know the name of it, but I'm pretty sure you have tried it somewhere before, because usually it's the first dish on the menu at Japanese restaurants. And the cool thing about this dish is it's incredibly easy to make and budget friendly. You will need beef, onion, a bowl of rice, green onion, and egg. So simple, right? Surprisingly, this green onion and egg are not necessary, but if you need some photos for your Instagram, I wouldn't skip them. You will see what I'm talking about in a few minutes. If you want to feel more authentic vibes, then please get some Japanese pickled ginger. It's gonna add more color to your dish and boost all the flavors in there. But if you really hate the taste of ginger, then you can skip it. No problem at all. Or you can just use it for presentation and take some photos and then take it out. Otherwise, you will regret it. Trust me, it's that pretty. First, let's prep some vegetables. Slice one onion into strips. About the size of your fingernails would be perfect. Next, green onion. Since we're gonna use this for garnish, you don't have to chop too much like I did. I know you might say, Aaron, you have an obsession problem with it. Yeah, I know, but it's a personal thing, so let's move on. But remember, greens always make your dish look fancy. Now let's talk about the beef. For this dish, we need thinly sliced beef. But some of you might say, Aaron, I can't find that near my place. What should I do? Then just go get a chunk of meat and put it in the freezer for about 30 minutes. And then just slice it as thinly as possible. Trust me, it's not that difficult, so try it. But if you still don't want to do that, then go get some bulgogi cut from a Korean grocery. To be honest, that's the best. Cut 200 grams of beef into bite-sized pieces. For this kind of rice bowl, the most important thing is the harmony between the beef and the rice. So please cut it into not too big and not too thick. Some of you might wonder which part of beef is the best for gyudon. For me, I prefer some parts with a little bit of fat in it because it's more nice and tender. But it doesn't really matter. Just use what you have in your fridge. If it's too lean, you just need to cook it a little longer to get it nice and tender. Don't worry about it. This time, let's make onsen egg, which is Japanese style soft cooked egg. Put 1 liter of water in a pot and bring it to a boil. Once it's piping hot, turn off the heat and add 200 milliliters of tap water and give it a stir. Gently place 4 large eggs, which are kept in the fridge. Cover it with a lid and let them sit for about 20 minutes. Although I said 20 minutes, it can be slightly different depending on the room temperature. So if you're watching this in summer, cook it a little shorter. And if it's winter, cook it a little longer. Then you will get the perfect soft cooked eggs. Alright, time's up. Let's take them out and let them cool for about 5 minutes. After that, just let them sit in cold water. That's it. For information, this is pretty much the same as a poached egg. So besides this gyudon, you can use this for any kind of dish. So try this with various recipes. You're gonna love it so much. Now let's move on to the sauce, which is the most important thing for gyudon. If you have this sauce, you can basically make almost every kind of Japanese rice bowl. Awesome, right? Put 200 milliliters of water into a wok or pot. Some of you might wanna ask, Aaron, why do you add water here? Isn't it supposed to be dashi? Japanese soup stock? Yes, you're right. But to make dashi, you need these bonito flakes and dried kelp. And you have to spend more than 30 minutes. And more importantly, bonito flakes are quite expensive. So if you don't make lots of soup stock like a restaurant, it's inefficient. So to make it simpler, let me use a secret weapon, which is called hondashi. You might have seen this in Asian food section at your local grocery. No? Never seen it? Really? Nah, it's not possible. Jog your memory. I'm pretty sure you have. Anyways, it's like a magic seasoning, tastes like bonito flakes, and people use this for Japanese soup stock. But if you still don't want to buy this, you can skip it. As long as you have good quality beef, it should be fine. But if you want to get that restaurant taste at home, please give it a try. You will see yourself writing a comment like, thank you, you're welcome. Let's add a half teaspoon of hondashi, 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, 3 tablespoons of mirin, a half tablespoon of sugar, and give it a good mix. We're gonna add onions later, so I think this amount of sugar would be enough. Now let's get to cooking. Place it on your stove over medium heat and bring it to a boil. Once it starts to boil, add the onions and give some time to be cooked. The onion for gyudon should be tender at the end, so let's wait until they get translucent. Once it gets to this point, take a spoon and give it a quick taste. Depending on the size or type of onion, it can release different amounts of sweetness. So if you want it to be sweeter, you can add more sugar. But to me, it's perfect. so I'm gonna skip that. Now let's add in the beef and let it simmer for about 5 to 10 minutes. For information, if you're using premium beef such as Wagyu, 2 or 3 minutes would be enough. But if it's not, you need to cook it long enough to get it nice and tender. Once it starts to boil, you will see some scummy stuff on top. Then take a spoon or ladle and skim that off. And this will make your gyudon neat and more delicious. Alright, it's ready to go. Put some hot rice into a bowl and cover it with the beef. And then add some sauce. If you pour it all at once, it's gonna be too salty. So please add a little depending on your taste. I told you already, so if it's too salty, I'm not responsible. Now pour the egg in the middle and add some pickled ginger. Lastly, sprinkle some green onions on top. How does it look? This looks exactly the same as the one in Japanese restaurants, right? What? This is better? Thank you. Alright, let's go to our taste tester. Claire?
It looks amazing. 이 노른자랑 이 빨간 거 이거 시선 강탈이다 완전. 대박. Oh my god, look at the egg. Oh, it's gonna be the perfect sauce. I can't resist it. 맛있겠다. 갑니다. 좀 더 고기를 올려서 양파랑. Ready? 말이 안 나오네. 일단 고기가 되게 부드러워. 고기가 그리고 소스를 잘 흡수해가지고 씹을 때마다 그 짭조름함이 샥 퍼져나오면서 밥이랑 너무 잘 어울린다. 짜지 않고 딱 맞아. 오, 맛있네 맛있네. 그리고 이 빨간 거 베니쇼가를 왜 넣는지 알겠다. 그 조그만 그 하나가 입안에서 향이 샥 퍼지면서 풍미를 확 일으키네. 맛있네. 데코만 하는 줄 알았는데 아니야. 맛있어. 대박. 나 원래 생강 안 좋아하는 줄 알았는데 생강 왜 이렇게 맛있니? Can you guys see this onsen egg? This is so soft. It just melts in your mouth. 너무 맛있다. 너무 맛있는데? 이거 진짜 그 레스토랑 퀄리티네. 가정식이 아니네. And lastly, let me give you a little tip. If you have some Japanese Kewpie mayo or any kind of Korean mayonnaise, please add some here. It's gonna bring it to the next level. Trust me, it gets more creamy and rich. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. 달라. 확실히 달라. Trust me, if you don't like it, it's because you haven't tried it. So please give it a try.
Let me guess, you went out with your friend and ordered some Korean chicken noodle soup because you know chicken noodle soup is always right all around the world. And the food was good and you got a bill. What did he say? 30? 40, 50? However, what if you can have authentic chicken noodle soup at home for $3 per serving? What do you say? Do you think chicken noodle soup is hard to make? No, not really, right? Then what about Kalguksu, Korean chicken noodle soup? Don't worry about it. With a little bit of a technique that I'm gonna show you today, you can experience authentic Korean chicken noodle soup. Alright, let's get started. First of all, let's start with the broth, which is the most important thing for the chicken noodle soup. You will need chicken, green onion, and garlic. It's way simpler than you think, right? First, onion. Cut off the ends and peel off the skin. Cut it through, but not all the way down, so that the good flavor goes into the broth. Next, green onion. Think about the person who bothers you this week and fold it in half. Feel better, right? Then place it in the pot. This time, chicken. To make a deep broth, we need chicken with bones because all the good stuff comes out from the bones rather than the meat. So I'm just gonna use 4 chicken legs and 1 chicken breast. But some of you might worry if it's not good enough because we only use a small amount of chicken. Yes, you're right, but don't worry about it because we're gonna add a little bit of chicken stock or chicken powder. To be honest, this is the secret of restaurant taste. Of course, we could use a whole chicken, chicken or more chicken pieces instead of this. But if it's too complicated and time consuming, no matter how delicious that is, you don't ever want to try that again. Trust me, these can make your cooking easy and fun. FYI, I'm not sponsored, so don't get me wrong. Now add 5 cloves of garlic. You can skip onion and green onion, but you have to add garlic. I know I always say more green onion, more delicious, but I dare say every Korean dish starts from garlic, so this can be optional. If you Google how much garlic Koreans consume every year, you'll be surprised. And lastly, add 10 cups of water so that they are all submerged. Now turn on the heat to high heat. Once it starts to boil, you will see some foamy stuff on top. Then use a spoon or ladle and skim that off to get a nice and clean broth. After that, put a lid on and let it continue to boil over medium-high heat for about 30 minutes. Of course, you can boil this without the lid, but that way, a lot of liquid will evaporate, so you may need to add more water constantly. Nobody wants to do that, right? Also, this will help concentrate the flavor, so don't forget to put the lid on. Meanwhile, let's prep the vegetables for the toppings. You will need green onion and zucchini. That's it. So simple, right? Actually, you can skip the vegetables because the broth is everything in here. But if you want some pretty photos for your Instagram, I wouldn't do that. First, chop some green onion into small pieces. Since we're gonna use it for garnish, we don't need much. Next, zucchini. Slice some zucchini into strips. As I always say, green always makes your dish look fancy. So if you're not in the middle of a desert or something, please do not skip this. Please. Lastly, finely chop 1 chili pepper for that extra kick, but this is totally optional. Now put some oil in a pan and place it over medium-high heat. Once the pan is nice and hot, add the zucchini and stir fry for about 1 minute. And don't forget to season with a little bit of salt and pepper. For information, zucchini contains a lot of moisture, so if you cook it too long, it quickly gets mushy. So please cook this for no more than a minute. Once it's done, spread it out as much as you can. Otherwise, you will see some mashed zucchini or something because of its remaining heat. And that is not gonna be pretty. Alright, it's been 30 minutes. Turn off the heat and take out the chicken. And remove other ingredients because we don't need them anymore. When the chicken is cool enough, shred it into bite-sized pieces. You may not notice it, but I'm screaming right now. Seriously, I am. Of course you can use forks, but it gives you more authentic vibes. Can you feel that, right? No? Really? Oh, now it's very important, so please focus. If you're done with the chicken, save the bones and put it back into the broth and then boil it for another 15 minutes. And that is the secret of how we get the restaurant taste. Remember, all the good flavor is in the bones, so do not skip this step. Alright, time's up. Remove the bones. This chicken broth is versatile, so it can be used for many recipes such as ramen or jjampong. So please try it in many ways. It will be fantastic. Anyways, let's get back to the point. For the chicken noodle soup, we need at least 1.5 liters of broth, which is about 6 cups. So if it's necessary, please add more water and bring it to a boil. Now let's work on the chicken. Put 2 tablespoons of Korean chili pepper flakes, 30 grams of green onion, a half teaspoon of salt, a few shakes of black pepper. If you're a big fan of spicy food or want some extra kick, you can add the chili peppers that we chopped earlier. But again, this is totally optional, so don't worry about it. Normally, Korean chicken noodle soup is topped with just plain shredded chicken, but I prefer this way because it makes your dish more beautiful and adds more flavor to the broth. Trust me, I guarantee it. Finally, it's time to assemble. Put 1.5 liters of broth, a half teaspoon of salt, some black pepper, 1 clove of finely minced garlic, 1.5 tablespoons of chicken stock, and turn on the heat to medium heat. Our broth is good enough, but this will bring it to the next level. Next, noodles. I'm gonna use these Kalguksu noodles, Korean knife cut noodles, but if you can't get it, you can use any kinds of noodles such as frozen noodles, dried noodles, or even instant ramen noodles. No worries, if you use these Kalguksu noodles, make sure to untangle them first and give them a rinse because we don't want that excess starch in our soup, but not too long. Just a quick rinse will be enough. Once it's piping hot, add in the noodles and stir it so they don't stick together. If you stir it like crazy, these kind of fresh noodles are easily broken into small pieces, so please be gentle. Alright, when the noodles are just about done, grab a spoon and give it a quick taste. Obviously, everybody has a different taste, so it can be a little bland or salty. Then add some more water or salt to suit your taste, but mine is perfect. When the noodles are fully cooked, turn off the heat and place them nicely in a serving bowl. And then add some soup with a ladle. Now garnish the top with some zucchini and chicken. That's it. So easy, right? You might feel it's too much work because I talk too much, but trust me, once you try it, you will notice it's way easier than you think. Alright, let's go to our taste tester. Claire.
오, 뭔가 이렇게 알록달록 신경 좀 썼다. 고명도 따로 만들고. 이요. It's so pretty, right? I'm so ready for this. 너무 섞기가 미안하네. 고명이 엄청나구만. 이요. 국물이 빨갛게 이제 물 들어가고 있어. 오. 오. 완전 맛있는데? 제대로 했는데? 국물도 먹어봐야지. 마이갓. 제대로다. 오, 국물이 진짜 전통 있는 식당에서 이만한 가마솥에 다 엄청 넣어가지고 팔팔 끓인 그런 맛? 그런 깊은 맛이 나는데? 오, 제대로 했는데? 오, 진짜 맛있어. 고명에 있는 고춧가루가 싹 퍼져가지고 약간의 그 칼칼함도 추가가 되는 그런 느낌이야. 매콤함이 탁탁 치는 그런 느낌? 너무 좋은데? You know what makes you feel better is that after eating this kind of meal, you don't feel guilty. 진짜 이거는 건강해지는 느낌이다. 이 건강해진다라는 게 이게 맛이 없어서 건강해지는 그런 느낌이다. 그런 게 아니라 한 입 한 입 먹었었을 때 뭔가 몸에 안 좋은 것들이 뭔가 치료되는 그런 느낌? 그 정도로 그런 느낌이네. For your information, these kalguksu noodles are really slippery compared to other noodles. So if you are not good at using chopsticks, bring your fork. It's not something you should be ashamed of. That's okay. Don't worry about it.
You really think Mapo Tofu is the thing only restaurants can make? Or are you afraid of cooking Asian food at home even though it's so easy? From now, don't worry about it. You can do it. And if you do, you may taste the best Mapo Tofu that you ever had. Alright, let's get started. You will need ground pork, bell pepper, green onion, garlic, ginger, and tofu. Since this is Sichuan food, we need this Sichuan pepper for the spiciness, but I can't say you should buy this stuff only for this one recipe, because I know you will find this covered in dust next year or even later. For information, it's not my story. Trust me, it's not. First, let's prep some bell peppers. Please chop them into small pieces. These guys will definitely make your dish more beautiful, so I highly recommend using two colors, green and red. Also, if you want to make it extra spicy, you can replace them with some chilies. Next, green onion. Need some words for the green onions? It's always more green onion, more delicious. Just finely chop it as much as you want. But still, some of you might want to know the exact amount of green onions. Then I'll say about 30 grams of green onions would be enough, or even more. This time, finely mince some ginger. For this, a small amount of ginger would be enough. About the size of your fingernails would work. I'll say 2 or 3 grams will be perfect. By any chance, if you have some minced ginger in the freezer just like me, please go ahead and use it. For information, I always keep it in the freezer, but to show you how to prep it, I bought it from groceries. You're welcome. Next, finely chop 2 cloves of garlic. If you have this kind of giant Chinese knife at home, bring it and smash the garlic. Then you will look super cool. But the most important thing is you should bring somebody and let them watch. If you can't, bring your phone and film yourself at least, like I'm doing it. Wanna know a secret? I don't even remember when was the last time I used this. Maybe 10 years ago. Lastly, let's work on the main ingredient, tofu. For this recipe, I'm gonna use soft tofu. Of course, you can use farm or medium tofu, but I strongly recommend this because the texture is fantastic. Trust me, it is incredibly soft, so you will feel the taste of heaven. And more importantly, this looks way fancier when it's cooked. Trust me again. This will make your Mapo Tofu more gorgeous. If your tofu is tightly packed like mine, it won't come out easily. In that case, make a small cut on the bag. Then, ta-da! Pretty good tip, right? You already knew it? Really? Then, sorry about that. Anyway, cut 300 grams of tofu into nice little cubes. The size really doesn't matter, but if it's too small, you can't fully enjoy the texture, so please be aware of that. Now, boil some water in a pot. Why? Because we're gonna blanch our tofu. Our stoves don't have that large flame like Chinese restaurants, so if you just use cold tofu that's been sitting in the fridge for hours, it's gonna take a long time to heat it up, which means it will be more likely to break apart, and you will end up with something like porridge, not Mapo Tofu. However, if you heat it up beforehand, you don't have to worry about it because we can reduce the cooking time. This little tip will help your tofu survive. Once they are warm enough, gently take them out and set it aside. Now let's make the sauce. In a small mixing bowl, put 1 tablespoon of Chinese chili bean paste, half tablespoon of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce, 1 tablespoon of mirin, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and give it a mix. Actually, we're supposed to use Shaoxing wine, but I replaced it with mirin because I ran out of it. But it's gonna be alright, don't worry about it. You don't have mirin either? Then just skip it. No worries. This time, in 1 cup of water, add a half tablespoon of chicken powder and mix it. You can also use chicken stock, and if you don't have both, then just go for water. There'll be slight difference in taste, but it'll be still delicious, so don't worry about it. Lastly, we need starch water. In a small mixing bowl, put 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, 1 tablespoon of water, and mix it. That's it. Now let's get to cooking. In a wok, put 1 tablespoon of cooking oil, 1.5 tablespoons of chili oil, and place it over medium heat. If you can't handle spicy food, you can skip the chili oil. Just go for the cooking oil. That should be alright. On the other hand, if you really love spicy food, then just go for chili oil. It's all up to you. Next, I'm gonna add 130 grams of ground pork and stir fry it. In this step, be sure to break that up, or there's no point of using ground pork. Once it's cooked on the outside, add the green onions, ginger, garlic, and stir fry for about 30 seconds. Now change the heat to high heat. Pour the sauce around the outside and cook it for about 30 seconds. This will give us the smoky umami flavor that you're looking for. Once you can smell the amazing aroma, add the bell peppers and stir fry for another 1 minute. Since I'm a huge fan of spicy food, I'm gonna add Vietnamese chili peppers. Some of you might wonder why I didn't put the chilies in the beginning. That's because they burn so easily, especially when you stir fry them in the oil. So it's better to add in the last step and quickly stir fry. Trust me, if they are burnt, it's not pretty. It's not. Let's pour 1 cup of chicken stock we prepared. Once it starts to boil, add the tofu, half a teaspoon of vinegar, and let it continue to boil for about 2 to 3 minutes. And if you really want to try authentic Mapo Tofu, then you can add a little bit of toasted ground Sichuan pepper now. About 1 teaspoon will be enough. If you really don't want to buy Sichuan peppers, but still want some authentic vibe, then let's add a half teaspoon of Sichuan peppercorn flavored oil. It can be a good substitute. Now to thicken up the sauce, let's pour the starch water and gently mix it around so that the tofu doesn't break apart. But are you still worried you will end up with Mapo porridge? Don't worry about it. You just need to push it around, almost like scratching the bottom of your wok. Then your tofu will be completely safe. But if your spatula or ladle is metallic or sharp, so you can't do that, then gently twirling your wok can help. But if you get big jelly in your Mapo Tofu because it didn't work, I'm not responsible. Alright, turn off the heat and let's drizzle 1 teaspoon of sesame oil for some extra fragrance and gently mix it around. Now transfer it to a serving plate and a little bit of green onions for color. What do you think? It's way simpler than you think, right? You know what? You will be more surprised if you taste it. Okay, let's go to our taste tester.
Claire?
대박 맛있겠다. I don't even know since when, but I became a huge fan of tofu, and this is one of my favorite tofu dishes. Can't wait. 어떡해. 딱 현지의 느낌이 느껴진다. I don't want to break the tofu. Ready? 와, incredible. 너무 맛있어서 몸에 닭살이 돋았어. 그 정도로 너무 맛있어. 두부의 식감 진짜 미친 것 같아. 정말 그냥 말 그대로 입에서 샥 녹는 느낌이야. 식감이 진짜 일반 두부랑은 비교도 안 돼. 그냥 씹는 순간 입에서 싹 사라진다라고 생각하면 돼. 그 정도로 장난 아니야. 밥이랑 같이 먹겠어. 쌀밥이 이렇게 올려서 Let me try it. 밥이 완벽하게 만들어주네. 둘이 너무 잘 어울려. 이건 뗄래야 뗄 수 없는 관계야. 그지? 사천 음식이 워낙 매운 걸로 유명한 음식이다 보니까는 도전을 못한 사람들도 꽤 있었을 것 같은데 이 정도면 너무 맵거나 얼얼할 정도까지는 아닌 것 같거든? 딱 나한테는 괜찮은 것 같아. It's not too spicy, so I'm sure you can handle it. 맵기는 맵나 봐. 등에서 땀이 나고 있어. 행복해. 이런 맛있는 거 먹을 때 행복해.